Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'd like to take a look at the Team Plasma mechanic in the Pokemon TCG, but more specifically in GLC. So this is going to be part 1, mainly just because there is a surprising amount of Team Plasma Pokemon. Like, they gave a lot of Pokemon this Plasma badge. So yeah, sadly this has to be a 2-part video, but hopefully you enjoy and stick around for part 2. But yeah, just to get started, we have some stadiums and energy. I think both of these are interesting. Like Frozen City, I would say, is definitely the more useful of the two, just because Frozen City applies to any non-Team Plasma Pokemon and they take 2 damage counters, whereas Plasma Frigate, even though it is like useful in a sense, like it only triggers when you have a Plasma Energy attached to a Pokemon. And because it's GLC, you're only allowed to play 1 Plasma Energy in your deck. So you can kind of see why that's a very niche use. Like, if you're really going all out on the Team Plasma theme, then I think Plasma Frigate might be worth including. But overall, to be honest, like, I don't think it's worth it, aside from, it's really cool that it's basically a pirate ship that's flying in the sky, right? Like, that's cool. But aside from that, then, yeah, Frozen City is definitely the much better stadium. As for the Plasma Energy itself, just provides 1 colorless energy. Really, nothing special there. But it does have some support from trainers. So as for the supporters, I think the most useless one maybe is probably Team Plasma Grunt, just because you might not want to discard a Team Plasma Pokemon if you're just like trying to build around Team Plasma Pokemon in the first place. And even though I did say at the start of the video that there is a lot of these guys, there isn't so many when you start dividing them up by individual types, because of course you can only play 1 type in GLC. So yeah, Team Plasma Grunt, draw 4 cards if you discard a Team Plasma Pokemon from your hand. Colorus is just straight up a great supporter anyway that sees play in non-Team Plasma decks, so Colorus, absolute 10 out of 10 supporter, probably even a 12 out of 10 supporter, it's just that good. Getsis is a really interesting one because it's only like really good on like the first, I would say, first few turns of the game, and then beyond that it's a bit more like niche, and I would much rather play something like an Airy and like choose what to discard. But Getsis is still pretty cool. Like, again, it's a card that got banned and expanded. So if you have, loads of Getsis in your collection, you're like, oh, I really want to play Getsis again, then, GLC is a nice way of doing it. But yeah, that's Getsis. Also got Shadow Triad, put a Team Plasma Pokemon card from your discard pile into your hand. Kind of useful. Initially, I thought this could only recover a Team Plasma energy, but it is just any Team Plasma card. Quite useful, again, if you have like a lot of Team Plasma support in your deck. But I would say overall, it definitely depends what you're like leaning into, If you're playing all the other supporters, then sure, why not play Shadow Triad? And you're playing all the other tool cards, the stadiums, that's really cool. So yeah, I do think Shadow Triad does have some nice uses as well. As for items and tool cards, we've got some really fun options here. I would say Reversal Trigger could be a surprise hit for these guys. Like, if this Team Plasma Pokemon gets KO'd, then you get to search your deck for any 1 card, which is really useful. Team Plasma Ball, of course, is just fantastic. It's basically just a Master Ball for any Team Plasma Pokemon. Colorless Machine does sound really good, but at the end of the day, it is just 1 Team Plasma energy in your deck. So you're only really just ramping 1 colorless energy, which I don't think is super useful. Like, again, if you're really leaning into Team Plasma support, then maybe it's worth it. But honestly, I think Team Plasma Bolt and Reversal Trigger are like includes before Colorless Machine, for sure. And then Hypnotoxic Laser, we don't need to talk about Team Plasma badge, like it's pretty self-explanatory, but Hypnotoxic Laser is a very good card as well, like triggering poison, and you also get to flip a coin, and if heads, you do a sleep as well. So, especially with things like grass types and poison types, Pokemon that really also have great synergy already with special conditions, like will really love Hypnotoxic Laser anyhow. So, that's a really nice inclusion. But yeah, first up, we've got grass types. And some fun options here, like Masquerain has a useful ability where you get to like move tool cards around, which is cool. But I would say overall, there's really nothing that crazy about grass types in Team Plasma. Like Leafeon could be kind of cool with Energy Crush, but because of course there's no grass type EV, you have to like treat what words? What am I trying to say here? You're trying to like cheat it out into play with Dream Ball and Peonia, so that's kind of annoying. So I don't think like Leafeon's the easiest to play. Excelgor is just a bit weird and I think a bit too niche to play. Amoonguss is kind of cool with Astonish, and you get to like shrink your opponent's hand on a coin flip, which is really funny. So with a Shadow Triad and stuff, you could really lean into control maybe. Genesect, again, is a bit weird. I don't think it's quite good enough to be played. and then Torterra is just a bit underwhelming as a stage 2. So grass types, unfortunately, don't get a high rating from me. If I was to give them a ranking out of 10, this would be like maybe a 3 or a 4 out of 10, because like there is some fun stuff here, like Mascarin's kind of cool, but I think overall grass types are not super impressive in Team Plasma. Next up is we have dark types, which get a lot more love. Again, some really cool abilities like Umbreon with Dark Shade, plus 20 HP would be really nice, but again, you have to cheat it out to play, so at that point, I don't know if it's really worth it, to be honest. The Weavile with Vilify could be pretty cool if you're playing a lot of like Pokemon recovery, such as Sacred Ash. The Absol with Mind Jack is honestly your best attacker, maybe. Like Darkrai and Absol, I think are joining your best attackers. Like Weavile's pretty good though with Vilify. It's just you can't really afford to discard too many Pokemon because you're gonna run out of resources eventually. But yeah, Weavile's not the worst, especially if you want to get like a big one at KO or something. But yeah, as for the other ones, there's really nothing that crazy. Like the Crocodile is just a terrible stage 2 card. Scrafty's not very good. Bishop is absolute trash. Hydreigon's interesting actually, but it's not like a great card or anything. And then Liepard can do a little bit of control stuff with hand milling, but I think overall, like Weavile, Umbreon, and Absol are like holding these guys together. They are the ones holding this together. So I think out of 10, I would maybe say this is more like a 5 or a 6. Definitely better than grass types, but, again, a bit weaker. And I would definitely say Absol is probably your best bet, really. So next up is we have psychic types. We've got 2 slides worth of psychic types because they printed so many of these guys. Definitely a bit of bias going on from the designers, but yeah, Sableye is pretty useful with retreat locks. That already gives you another win condition to work with. We also have Metagross, which can just search your deck for any Team Plasma card. Is that really worth it if you're only going to be playing like 6, 7 Team Plasma cards anyhow? Maybe not, but if you're really leaning into Team Plasma, you play the Muck, your Sableye, your Giratina, your Metagross, and a Cofagrigus line, then okay, maybe Metagross is actually worth it at that point. But could be a nice option. The Cofagrigus with 6 feet under, a great ability name by the way, but a very fun ability. When it gets KO'd, you can put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like, which will stack with Spell Tag, so you can spread up to 7 damage counters, which is really fun. Then the Cofagrigus with elongating arms is not as interesting, but I do think the 6 feet under one is at very least playable, so that's cool. Also, this Giratina, like, it's fine. It is a reprint of another one, but like overall, I don't think it's like a terrible card or anything. It's just like better Giratinas in GLC. So you definitely got some fun options between Cofagrigus, Metagross, and Sableye at the very least, and then Muck's like not terrible. Also got some more psychic types, of course. Crobat could be like a pseudo draw engine. Also got like Giratina that we've just seen with Hex. Weezing is kind of interesting actually. When it gets KO'd, you get to mill the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So if you want to play a psychic mill deck, then it's actually possible to do so with this Weezing. Like Team Rocket's Handiwork, the shovel, I think it's called, like Cursed Shovel. So there is some like fun options with psychic mills. That's kind of cool. I don't think there's much beyond that though. There's like a Palossand, I think, a stage 1 psychic Palossand, if I remember correctly, that does mill effects. But like overall, I don't think there's like much else with psychic mill right now. But it's nice that at the very least there is a Weezing that can do that though. Also got a Bayheem, which is okay, can do some retreat lock for 1 energy, which is always nice. And then some Garbodors, which I don't think are very good, but Ensnarl could be okay against a much bigger, like beefier Pokemon. But again, I don't think there's like anything too crazy here, but Weezing again is really fun. So I think Psychic types definitely more of like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for me, at the very least. Next up is we have Colorless types though, and Porygon Z is a weird one. Like, it lets you move a Plasma Energy around, it can be fun and useful, especially since it'll just pay for any of your attack costs, really. But at the end of the day, it is just 1 Colorless Energy, and you're only allowed 1 Colorless Energy in your deck. So I think at that point, I would rather just play the Porygon Z from Unbroken Bonds that accelerates all the special energy that you would ever want. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but I don't think the Plasma Porygon Z is quite worth it. The Ursing can reduce damage, that's alright. Also got this Chatot. Yeah, no, Ursing is trash. Also got this Chatot with Misinformation, can discard all 2 cards attached to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So super niche tech card if you go up against like a tool drop style deck. But yeah, Misinformation I guess is not the worst. Snorlax with the infamous ability Block, which is, yeah, it's a bit scary. I'm very glad that they didn't call these like Team Plasma's Snorlax or whatever. So you can't run 2 Snorlax with Block and GLC. but you can at least run one of them. So it's nice to know at least that if you want to play some control stuff, then at the very least you can do that. And there is some other like controlling colorless types, right? Like this Raticate can recover resources, which is really cool. The Watchhog can discard a random card from your opponent's hand. And then, of course, Chatot and Boufflon are discarding cards, Earth Rings reducing damage. So there is a little bit of a theme going on here, which is admirable, but is it enough for a deck? I don't really think so. I don't think you're doing enough disruption. But ultimately, though, if you really wanted to, you could try and like loop a Snorlax with a Getis, use Raticate, try and Getis and discard all those switches, and then Raticate can recover it. And, you just try and do that as a loop. That could be quite fun. I think overall, there's nothing like mind-blowingly crazy about this, but there is like a small deck to be had out of it at the very least. So again, I think like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. But yeah, thank you for watching. Part 2 will cover Water, Fire, Lightning, and Metal, as well as all the trainers again. But hopefully this has served as a useful introduction to Team Plasma in GLC. And if you would like to see the other teams in this style, such as, Team Flare, Team Grunt, that sort of thing, then do let me know down below in the comments section. And also be sure to check out the menu of GLC series, where I basically just take a look at a Pokemon and all the cards that it has access to in GLC, as well as my general just GLC playlist, which is where these videos will also go. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. It's been my power, and yeah, thank you for watching.